Now, as we all know, Forge is right around the corner, being only a month away with the winter update. Most, if not all, Halo Infinite players are extremely excited about this, including myself, being that Forge is what I've been looking forward to this entire time, and my disappointment is immeasurable for how long it has taken, but we have the future, and that's all that matters, and that is in less than a month, which is super exciting news. Now, with Forge's release, I believe there are a few things that need to be included with the release of Forge, and some things that should not be in the release of Forge, meaning bugs and stuff like that. So I'm going to run down things that I believe need to be with Forge, and also things that really cannot be with Forge when it releases. Just as a heads up, I'm still recovering from being sick, so my voice is still a little wonky, so apologies for that. But before we get into this, I just want to say, like, comment, sub, it truly means a lot. I prefer to say this at the end of the video, but we are a little bit more than halfway away from my goal, which is 500 subscribers. So if you would so kindly sub to my channel, it would truly mean a lot. Now let's get into our main topic here. So in terms of what is confirmed for the upcoming Halo Infinite updates via the roadmap, we have, obviously, Forge in the winter update, but that is the only thing notable about Forge and Forge related included in the winter update on the roadmap, that is. Though with Season 3 Echoes Within, that is when we are going to be getting custom games browser, which I believe is truly a huge part of Forge and honestly should be included in the winter update as well. And if they have the resources or gain those resources to be able to include custom games browsers some point within the winter update, I think that that would be a huge play and greatly help them. Because, well, anyone who wants to play Forge maps, custom games, whatever, you really gotta have a community or a lot of friends to be able to set up these games. If you don't really have that and you just want to hop on and play some custom games that you wouldn't be able to play in matchmaking, well, you're gonna be a little screwed without custom games browser. Custom games browser allows you to be able to play fun game modes that aren't in matchmaking whenever the hell you want without needing to worry about people to play with. But now that we got the custom games browser topic out of the way, because that is confirmed and unfortunately not going to be with the release of Forge, let's talk about some of the things that hasn't really been mentioned that really should be with the release of Forge. And I'm going to start with a good file sharing system, because without custom games browser, it's going to be kind of difficult to know of really cool fun maps to play without playing them. So if you have the file share option, you can just check out some maps that other friends of yours have, or people that you meet, and or people posting them on YouTube and other things like that. You go onto their profile, file share, and you download the maps and stuff for yourself. So having a good, reliable file share system in Halo Infinite when Forge releases is super important and would be extremely helpful. Now moving on to the next thing with the release of Forge, I do believe they truly need to make Forge as stable as possible, because this specific bug, if this is in the game, it's going to be a huge problem for any Forge creators and any people who want to even attempt to make Forge maps. That problem being stable Forge. And what I mean by that is the Forge has to be stable. It cannot be crashing. It can't be bugging out. Because if these things happen, you could potentially lose hours on hours of time put into a Forge map gone. Because if Forge gets released unstable and bugs like that occur, that could be a huge problem. And a lot of people who are Forge creators and people coming into Forge, anyone who's going to make maps, will definitely be steering clear of Forge if they even once have that happen to them. Because personally, I know that if I put hours and hours into a map, and out of nowhere from one stupid bug because Forge is unstable, my game crashes and I lose all of that progress, I probably wouldn't be too motivated to try to create a new map anytime soon. So having Forge be stable in that matter is extremely important. And obviously any other sort of bugs while creating maps shouldn't be in Forge as well, but I truly do believe that a bug like this would 100% be worst case scenario. So as long as we don't have any bugs like that, I think we're good to go. But I definitely think that having stable Forge is important for the release of it. Speaking about unstable, let's talk about the current custom games, which, if you are unaware, custom games is pretty awful right now. Whether it be the custom games just not working or any sort of changes you make to game modes not saving and you needing to continuously redo them. It is horrendous right now. Anyone who's playing custom games, which it's not a lot of people at the moment, but anyone who is not happy with it. And so once Forge is released, obviously custom games is going to get ramped up a lot in terms of player count. Custom games needs to be fixed and also just as stable as Forge needs to be. Because, well, without custom games, there's only so much you could do with these Forge maps that you create. Because, well, that's the purpose of creating them, playing them in custom games. So, stable custom games on top of stable Forge, very important for the release of Forge in the winter update. Next, I want to talk about the UI. Now, Halo Infinite's main menu and the UI system is just not the most user-friendly of things. Anytime I play with people who aren't playing Halo Infinite all the time or who don't play it as much as I do are always very confused as to where to go for specific things and just navigating that main menu. So the UI with Forge, whether it be in the main menus, navigating the objects, anything like that, any UI related things needs to be easy to use, good looking. It just needs to be kind of the complete opposite of how they got the current Halo Infinite main menu looking. And though this is kind of like a minor, not too like giant thing to request or isn't really a necessity in the long run, and also for first user experience, I think it's very important because obviously if anyone is that invested in learning how to use Forge and wanting to use Forge, they'll look past terrible AI or UI because, well, it'd be worth it for them. It wouldn't take them too long to learn and understand. But for newcomers and the long run, I think a good UI is pretty important for Forge. And just in Halo Infinite in general, I think the main menu and everything that's like that really does need an overhaul. And so hopefully we see that in the future. Obviously, that is nowhere near any priority. So hopefully 343 Industries is not prioritizing something like that. Though something that they definitely should be prioritizing is this final thing I'm going to be speaking about for necessities that need to be in Forge at release. And this one is a necessity indeed. That being Forge creations, whether it be maps or game modes, making their way to matchmaking as soon as possible. Now, obviously, I don't expect hundreds of game modes and maps to make their way first week of Forge being out, because obviously it takes time for people to create maps and also to learn how to use Forge. Obviously, yes, there are people who have had their hands on Forge for quite some time now, whether it be through the bugged version or from being a part of the Forge team that has gained access to Forge early, that is officially released versions of Forge. So if creations by them, maybe a couple of them can come first week or whenever. Though I would have to say as soon as possible, as soon as Forge maps and game modes that are just, rolling out by people and they're high quality and fun and great, they need to make their way to matchmaking as soon as possible. I think that this is such a necessity for anyone who doesn't want to play custom games and just anyone who's playing the game for a long time or any person who wants to get into the game. This is a great way to get people in and playing. I know for sure that if I went on Halo and I was able to play 10 new fan-created maps and game modes rather than the same 5 maps over and over again, yeah, I would most likely come play the game right now and stay on for a lot longer than previously, because maps and new game modes are such a huge thing for Halo, and I feel as though the variety we have currently is just not enough to keep me or others playing for long. So having fan-created Forge maps and game modes into matchmaking is extremely important and should be a high priority. Now, I did see a tweet today saying that they're, iffy about this topic, which I hope not, and I hope that they are set in stone with doing fan-created maps into matchmaking as soon as possible. I hope that's the case, and I hope the guy who tweeted this is incorrect, or we are led to, we're misreading what he's saying or what he's trying to say, whatever the case is. Hopefully not, and hopefully we get fan-made maps into matchmaking as soon as possible. Again, with time after Forge releases, because people need to learn how to use it, and obviously it takes time to create the maps and learn how to do things. So I don't mean the next day after Forge releases. I mean within like a couple weeks, a reasonable amount of time. And that does not include the people who have had access to Forge for quite some time now. Hopefully, we will be seeing some projects from these people who have official versions of Forge currently into matchmaking, because then I feel as though, a little bit odd that people would have Forge for so long officially and none of the projects or things that they have been doing make their way to the game. So, since I have been rambling now for 10 minutes, I think this is a good time to be closing this video. I think all the things that I mentioned are very important, and I think a lot of people will agree with me here. Hopefully, we will have all of these features, if not most, with the release of Forge, and hopefully we have none of the issues that I mentioned. Obviously, the list can go on with issues, but I think that the two that I mentioned with custom games and having a stable Forge, I think are most important to have in the release. But I think that's where I'm going to call it. Let me know down in the comments things that you think should be with the release of Forge and things you hope that will be with the release of Forge. Just anything along those lines. I mean Forge specific topics, not guns and vehicles, because obviously those are things we all want, but they don't really have anything to do with Forge. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, sub. It truly does mean a lot, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.